Hi guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing some more mushroom macro photography out in the woodlands. But today I'm going to be using a cube light and I'm going to be using some tin foil as well. Just to change it up a little bit and see what other photos I can get. I've shot a few times with natural light now, so I thought it was time to spice it up a little bit and experiment with some lighting. So let's see how this goes. So for my first subject I found this little mycena mushroom, or I think it might be a bonnet mushroom, I'm not too sure. And it's growing out of this stick here, which is quite nice, and I've placed it on this moss so I can get some nice height so I can easily get a shot, and also the moss will just make the shot a bit nicer as well. As you can see, I placed my little cube light behind it, that's that white thing, and then I've got my camera set up here. So what I'm aiming to do is underexpose the shot by about 2 stops and then have this light backlight my subject. So let's see how this goes. So to get my exposure how I want it, I'm going to be shooting at f5.6, ISO 200, and then I've adjusted my shutter speed so it's underexposed by about 1.7 stops. It was -2 stops a minute ago, I think, because the lighting is changing with the sun. And then I'm going to turn my light on the second brightest power, and that gives the subject a really nice backlight. There doesn't seem to be much light bouncing on it, I think because that light's so bright it's just dominating the shot. So I think I'll leave this out of this shot, to be honest. It doesn't seem to be doing much now the light's turned on. So I'm going to focus just before the subject starts and then press the shutter to start my bracket, and then once I've got enough images I will press the shutter again to end the bracket. There we are, that's enough shots. That's quite quick. So that whole time I was photographing that mushroom, right by my feet was this leaf with these eggs. It looks similar to like a shield bug nymph sort of egg, but I don't think it is. It could be, I think it's something else, I'm not too sure. If anyone has any ideas what that is, let me know in the comments. This log is covered in, it looks like caviar. I don't know if you can see it, it's like loads of little black dots. So once I'm done with this subject here, I'll move on to this and get like a nice textured shot of that. So let's photograph this now. One thing I didn't really consider was a little tripod for my light, because I'm now having to just place it on the floor and I can't get the exact height I want. But for a lot of these shots it seems that backlit looks really nice. I think when I shine it straight on you see the harsh reflection of the light because it's not diffused. Although it does have a little bit of diffusion on it, it's not like big enough to have the effect of diffusion, if you know what I mean. But I think I'm going to use the tinfoil for this shot. It does seem to fill in those shadows a little bit. It's not doing a crazy job, but it is doing something, so I will utilize it for this shot. Yeah, I wanted to outline the edge of each sort of egg, and backlighting this does that. Makes the shot look really nice. I'm going to be using pretty much the same settings as last shot, underexposing my shot by about 1.5 stops. And again, I'm going to focus just before my subject starts. So I'm just going to hold my foil in my hand, and then we're going to hit the shutter to start the bracket, and then I'll hit it again to stop it. That's enough shots, so I'll hit the shutter again. Should be quite a nice shot there. Alright, I'm now going to be photographing that caviar looking stuff. Still not really sure what it is, but it's growing all over this log. And I might photograph that little section up there possibly. It's quite a neat little section. Or I might just get like an abstract textured looking shot of like a big bunch. So we'll see what we come out with. So what I've done here is I've placed my light up there and it's acting as sort of like an edge light, a backlight, sort of like the other shots. And then I've got my foil down here, which is reflecting some of that light up and filling in those shadows. And my subject is quite dark, so it's doing a good job at lighting up my subject here. For this shot, I'm going to be shooting close to 2 times magnification, pretty much 2 times magnification. And I want to get a close-up abstract shot with all of the subject in focus. So I'm going to start the bracket and then end it once I've got everything in focus. So I'm going to focus all the way from the front to the back and then stack those so it looks like everything is in focus. Right, it's looking like it's almost done, so I think I'm going to hit the shutter there to end it. And there we are. My exposure meter was reading -1.7 stops there, but it seemed to be perfectly exposed. When I put it to 0, which is perfectly exposed according to the exposure meter, it was looking quite overexposed. I think it's because it was exposing for the main subject and not the edge light, which is what I'm exposing for. So my next subject is actually on the same log as the last subject and the first subject in this video. and I'm not too sure what it is, and I can't really check because I have no signal on my phone out here. So I'll either put it up on screen now, or if I don't know what it is, then you'll have to let me know in the comments. But I've never really seen this sort of stuff, so let's get a photo of it. Right, so what I've had to do here is put some sticks down so I can raise the light up just a bit. And I want it at this exact height because I'm trying to illuminate the very front bit of the subject. I don't want that to be dark. I'm trying to get an edge light on pretty much every individual one of those fungusy things. So yeah, I had to kind of improvise with the stick there. I was going to use the foil, but it actually removes light because I'm shading it rather than reflecting the light. If the light was a lot brighter, then I think it would kind of work. But the natural light around us is brighter than the reflected light off that, so not going to bother using that. It looks like there's a tiny snail. I could be wrong, it's hard to see, it's that small. I think I should have brought my lens hood out with me because at the moment the that light is causing some lens flare because I'm shooting directly into it pretty much. It's not too bad, but it is taking some contrast out of the image. For this composition, I've tried to space out each bit of fungus nicely so it looks quite neat. So I'm going to be shooting this one with pretty much the same settings, so f5.6, ISO 200 and 1/8 shutter speed exposes that nicely. So let's press the shutter and we'll press it again once we have enough images. There we are, that's enough. I've just come to a different part of the woodland and I found this bit of bark covered in these tiny little white mushrooms. And for this shot, I've moved it to a log where I can get the height to get a nice shot. It'll just make it a bit easier to photograph these mushrooms because where it was originally was like really low down to the ground. So yeah, let's see what composition we come up with. I photographed quite a few of these little mushrooms before and I've always find them a little difficult to photograph. They just kind of blend in with the background a lot of the time. But now I'm using this light, I can lower my exposure to -3 stops and then bring out this light and that illuminates my subject, but the background is really dark. So now it stands out really nicely from the background. So my settings for this shot, I'm going to be using f5.6, ISO 200, and then my shutter speed comes out to 1/25. So let's hit the shutter. And of course we're focusing just before the subject starts, and then we'll press the shutter again once we've got enough images. For all the images I've done today, I've been shooting with a focus differential of 2 for my focus brackets, but for this one I've changed it to 1, just because when I photograph things at 2 times magnification that are really small, I found that 2 was alright, but sometimes it might have missed a frame or 2, so just being extra careful and using 1 for this shot. And I think we've got enough shots here, so we'll end the bracket there, and there we are. Should be quite a nice shot. So I had a little scan around on this bit of bark and I found another mushroom that is quite nice and I'm going to get a photo of. It's on the very end of the bark and it's kind of swirly, looks quite interesting. So I want to isolate that, but I'm not going to get as magnified as the last shot. I'm going to show a bit more of the scene around it, like the moss. What I'm doing here is using my bag to wedge the bit of bark between the log and my bag, and then I can also put my light on my bag to backlight the subject, and it also catches the edge of the moss, so it looks quite nice. I'm going to focus well before my subject starts because with these mushrooms it's actually quite hard to see if you're focused on it or not. It is quite hard to tell unless you have a monitor or if you zoom in on the back of the screen. So I'm quite liking this composition. It's yeah, quite a simple composition really, just portrait with the moss sort of leading in to the subject. But I think we got enough shots, so I'm going to hit the shutter again. And there we are. Should be quite a nice image. So for my next subject, we've got some sort of mushroom on the floor. I'm not too sure what it is exactly, but as you can see, it's very busy. There's a lot of dead grass, a lot of moss, a lot of leaves, and it's very hard to separate your subject when it's in an environment like this. As you can see here, it is blending into the background quite a bit, and then when I turn on the light, it's a good thing about lights, it's done a very good job there at separating the subject from the background. And because of the way I've angled the light, it's not lighting up the background, so the background's nice and dark, giving it that extra contrast. So yeah, let's get the shot. Might just try and tidy up this bit on the right of the frame a little bit. There's some moss and grass standing up that is a bit distracting. You could spend all day, it's like in real life Photoshop, clone stamping. Quite fun really. I try not to change my environment too much. I like to keep it sort of natural, but if there is a bit of grass in the foreground or background that I can easily remove, then I will do it. Just a strand of grass in the background that's really distracting. And that leaf as well. Any more bit of grass there, that can go. I could be here all day just picking the grass, so I think that's enough really. I just wanted to get rid of that clump on the right, it was very distracting. Now the background is just mostly the same colour. I didn't want like bits of grass in the background that the light was shining on. So probably angle my light slightly this way as well, just to get the background a bit darker. That's nice. Exposure's looking good. I'm going to be using f5.6, ISO 200 and 1/20 shutter speed exposes that. Alright then, let's press the shutter, and once we feel like we've got enough images, we'll press the shutter again. Alright, that should be enough. There we are. That's probably one of my favourite images today, and I wasn't even going to photograph it because of how messy the ground was. I've just come across some candle snuff fungus, I think that's what it's called from my memory. And as you can see, there's a big bunch there, which I was originally going to photograph. I was trying to set up a composition for a while. All this here in front of it is really messy, it's hard to get a nice composition. And there's other bits of candle snuff in front of it, which blocks this kind of spiky one with like 4 on top, which I was trying to photograph. So I kind of deffed that and went for this one instead over here with 2 little spiky things coming off it. So yeah, this one's really easy to isolate. There's not too much stuff in the foreground, so yeah, I'll go for this one instead. When I'm setting up my light, my general goal is to light up my subject, but in a way that gives it shape, and to also make the background dark. And I want to make the background dark so I can separate my subject from the background. And I want to give my subject shape because an image is 2D, and it's the only way to make things look 3D. Yeah, I'm quite happy with the light in there, it looks nice. I could try the foil to reflect some light, but I think it's doing a little bit. I think I'll place it there anyway. Alright, so focus just before my subject starts. I'm going to be using f5.6, ISO 200, and my shutter speed comes out 1/20, so let's press the shutter to start the bracket. Alright, there we are, we've got enough shots. Hit the shutter again. And yeah, I think that's quite a nice shot. So I've just come across a common mushroom similar to the one I was photographing on the floor a minute ago. But as you can see, this one's in a much nicer spot. It's growing out of a tree on some moss. And that just means it's elevated from the ground, making it a lot easier to photograph. And it's a lot easier to photograph because there's no distractions on the floor, which are gonna be in the front of the frame or in the background. It just means I can separate my subject from my background a lot easier. It also means I can place my light behind it a lot easier to create some shape on the subject. As you can see on the back of the camera, that is without the light, and that's with the light. So it does a lot of work there at shaping the subject and creating separation. So let's go get this shot. So I'm going to be shooting this one portrait just because the mushroom is very skinny and tall. I could shoot it landscape, but I think just the scene works a lot better with portrait. Settings wise, I'm pretty much using the same settings as most of my shots today. So f5.6, ISO 200 and 1/25 shutter. I could even go a little brighter, to be honest. I'll go 1/20 on the shutter, just a little brighter. My exposure meter is actually reading -2 stops underexposed, even though on the back of the camera it looks exposed. I think that's because a lot of my scene is dark, so it's reading most of that. And my subject is very small in the frame, and that's what I'm exposing for. So I'm going to focus just before the subject starts, press the shutter, and we'll press it again once we've got enough images. That seems like it's enough images, so press it again, and there we are. I've just found quite an interesting subject here. I've got a little pine cone covered in moss, and there's a tiny mushroom growing out of it. I was originally setting up a shot for a mushroom on the ground, and then I saw this nearby. And since I've already got a mushroom on the ground photo, I thought I'll go photograph this instead because it's a lot more interesting. So let's place this on a log or something and yeah, get a shot of it. So I've had a little play around with the lighting, and I quite like this angle here, so pointing sort of downwards from the side a little bit. I feel like it illuminates the mushroom quite nicely, and it reveals a bit of that pine cone detail. Because obviously with this shot, my aim is to sort of show off the scenery a bit and show that it is a pine cone, but also have most of the emphasis on the mushroom. I placed my foil down here. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I just placed it on the floor. with the hopes that some of that light will bounce up and light the front of the pine cone. So I think we'll have the light about there, and then we'll hit the shutter. And settings are pretty much the same as always, f5.6, ISO 200, and I can't remember what my shutter speed is. I think it was like 1/20. And I'm having to hold my light very still here because I want the lighting to be consistent throughout all these images. Otherwise it'll be weird when it comes to stacking and all the lighting's different in every shot. But I think that's enough shots, so hit the shutter again. And there we are. So I'm just going to shoot one more where I get the whole pine cone in the shot. I feel like that will kind of sell this scene the best. We're going to have the lighting about there, I think. So it illuminates just a bit of the pine cone, but mostly that mushroom. And I want to illuminate the moss on the edge as well. That's creating that separation between the subject and background. So that's looking quite good. So I think I'm going to hit the shutter and get that bracket. And I think that's enough shots, so hit the shutter again. And there we are. Right, I'm going to call today's video there. If you're wondering what cube light I use, I'll link that in the description, and those will be affiliate links. So if you buy through them, I'll get a small commission at no extra cost for you. I'll also link all the rest of my gear, like my camera, my lens and all that stuff. So yeah, if you're interested, go check the description. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with today's shots. It was worked out a lot better than I thought using that light. I'll have to use it a lot more because natural light is good, but you have to rely on, you know, natural light, and you can't change the direction of the sun or where your subject is a lot of the time. So using a artificial light like that little cube makes it a lot more interesting, and you can be a lot more creative. So I think I'll be doing it a lot more in the future and experimenting with some other lights and diffusion and reflectors and stuff like that, because it's a lot more fun. But with all that said and done, I'm going to end today's video here. So if you've enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.